Welcome to another episode of Staple or Stinker, and this time we have Josh, and Josh is an outstanding Yu-Gi-Oh player. What is Staple or Stinker? Well, good question that I asked. I'll present you with 5 cards, and all of those cards are magic cards, obviously, so you kind of have to parse through the idea of a magic card, and they're mostly either cards that are really good in magic, that means they've been played a lot, either now or back then they've been staples of magic, or they're stinkers, meaning either they've never seen any play for whatever reason, or people were very hyped about them, but they turned out to be trash.
Okay.
Well, you probably know the same concept from Yu-Gi-Oh!
I've seen the concept before. I'm excited to try and see how well I can do.
Awesome. All right, let's start with the first card.
All right, so I'm gonna flip it over. Siege Rhino, trample. When Siege Rhino enters the battlefield, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Oh, it says each because you sometimes don't play with 2 players.
Yes, sometimes you play what we call commander or multiplayer, and then you have more opponents.
4 mana, where it's 3 different colors, and it's a 4/5, which I also don't know if that's the... I'm just comparing it to other mana-based card games that I've played before. I have played like Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra, those games. I know they're not the same as Magic. So 4 mana for a 4/5 seems to be like okay, but I feel like stats are probably not the most important thing about cards. Like the effect is definitely more important than just the stats. Yeah, okay. And so swing of 6 life when you start with, what is it, 20?
20.
That feels reasonable. What is trample? Is like damage through the defense?
Yes, so if I block with a 1/1, you
I still receive
deal
3 damage?
Yes.
Okay. Trample feels like the bonus here on this card. Like I feel like that effect is not terrible, but I feel like if you were just trying to push damage, there's probably better cards than a 4 mana card with 4 attack. So the only thing I don't know is how easily you can have 3 different colors of mana, because I know, of course, you have like each basic land is only 1 color, and I don't know how frequently you mix 3 different ones in a deck. But I do know that there's lands that have multiple colors to circumvent that problem. I feel like if there's a deck that can play these colors and is like a mid-range / control type deck where it really appreciates the life gain and the blocker, I feel like this is a good card. So unless I'm wrong about any of these previous assumptions, I'm gonna guess that this is a good card.
You say it's a staple.
Yes.
Outstandingly, that was all correct.
Yeah? Okay,
It's
nice.
incredible. Like every single part that you said actually matters for the card.
Nice.
You are right, this is a staple.
Yeah.
And the reason is all of the lists that you combine together.
Okay.
So it does have very nice stats for 4 mana. 4 mana, 4/5 is something reasonable. And in Magic, more than Yu-Gi-Oh, stats matter because you don't have like free summons or you're trying to win the game as quickly as possible. There is something like stabilizing the board. Outstanding. Well done.
Okay, perfect.
All right, 1 for you.
Cool.
Card number 2.
Prophetic's Flame Speaker. 3 mana, only red and 1 colorless.
So you have to pay 2 red mana and 1
And any mana, okay. Double strike, trample. Whenever Prophetic Flame Speaker deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library, you may play it this turn. Okay. What is double strike?
Normally,
How does that work?
a creature hits 1. So there's a step in combat that says, now we do damage.
Yeah.
But this creature actually deals damage twice. First, before everybody else, that is first strike, and then normal damage, meaning at the same time.
So it's like specifically good against things with 1 health if it attacks.
That is very true.
Like that's like the perfect scenario if you attack and they decide to block with a card that's 1 health, why ever they would do that. And then I get to... It doesn't go to the graveyard, right? It goes to another zone, right?
Yes.
Which we call banish in Yu-Gi-Oh! The banished zone. Removed from play. Normally, like it's supposed to be hard to interact with these cards. So I wonder if in Magic, if a card is exiled, does it mean it's like gone for good, or is there like decks that can easily interact with exiled cards? Like they focus on...
Usually the exile zone, there's the graveyard, which is gone, and then the exile, which is gone.
Okay.
But this card specifically allows you to play that card
Yes.
for this turn. In this case, exile is a storage for that card.
Okay,
For that turn.
and I'm probably
Because you're
only
getting
using it for this.
Punished if you don't play it this turn.
This doesn't feel that good to me, because like 3 mana for a 1/3, I feel like at the time when you'll be able to play this, your opponent's probably just gonna have blockers that obliterate this card. It feels like it's, and also the card you exile off the top of your deck Of course, you can play it but only this turn for free. And it's not even for free, right? You still have to pay for it?
You have to pay for it. If it's a land, you can play it.
You can just play it, okay. But still, I mean, you have to hit a card that you want. If you hit something that you don't want at this time, you've basically spent all this effort in trying to make a 3-mana 1/3 connect. It feels like it sounds interesting because if it goes unblocked, you get just 2 options that you can play for free. But I'm gonna say this one is not very good.
So you label a stinker.
Yes.
Red is known for playing spells that burns stuff. So you deal damage and it removes creatures. We have Cardmarket Lightning Bolt, it deals 3 damage for 1 mana. The idea of that card is you play it, and then when your opponent plays creatures, you remove the creatures, you attack, and you get card advantage because you're showing the cards of your deck.
That sounds like it's a good card in the context of red.
That's what people thought how it's gonna play out.
Okay.
But it actually didn't. You were right. It's a stinker.
Nice.
People were excited when that card came out and said like, okay, just play it. What is my opponent gonna do? I mean, besides removing it. But if they play a creature, I'll remove it, I'll make the creature bigger, and then the card advantage is gonna be overwhelming. But it turns out, as you said, a 1/3 for 3 mana just isn't gonna cut it. And
it just needs a lot of help.
It needs a lot of help, and also when you're playing an aggressive deck, and red is an aggressive color, you're kind of taking a turn off for your opponent to do something cooler, and that never turned out to be a good card.
Okay.
Well done.
Nice.
2 for 2.
I felt like I was wrong when you started talking about how you can combine it with this or that card.
Well, people were very convinced that this card is going to be very good, but it was not. All right, number 3.
Vinelasher Kudzu, 2 mana, green. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Vinelasher Kudzu. It starts out as a 1/1, and it just keeps growing as soon as you play lands. Now, how good is it to have a 2/2? On like turn 3. Like the earliest thing you play this on 2, and then on 3 you play your first land, so it becomes a 2/2 immediately. Is that all right, or is it? Or you can't tell me that?
In a normal game of Magic, a 2 mana 2/2 would be not good.
Okay.
I'll give you a little hint or a little extra knowledge for this one. There are lands in Magic which are called fetch lands, which you can play.
Oh, I've heard of that.
And then sacrifice, and then they get you another land of a certain condition.
And does it count twice?
Whenever land enters the battlefield, meaning when you play the fetch land or you get something from your library, at any point in time where a land is put into play.
People play those fetch lands just because like they deck thin the lands out of your deck early?
Yeah, you thin your deck to a minor reason. It does some percentages. Mostly they be played because of the color fixing.
It's just for like consistency to make sure you have the right colors.
Yes.
And those count as 2 counters for the Vinelasher?
Exactly, because you put it into play and then get another one. Basically, in every competitive format where fetch lands are allowed, they're played.
Okay. So what I would guess then is that this card is... I'd say it's probably solid if you drop it right on turn 2 or turn 3, because then it immediately starts growing, and like early on, that's probably okay.
Definitely worse later.
That's what I'm thinking, right? Is that enough to make the card playable? Because I feel like if you draw this card at any point in like turn 4 or 5 or 6, even starting turn 4 pretty much right away, when it's like too late for you to drop it really early. I don't know if you keep playing lands every turn until the end of the game. You probably stop doing that at some point because you only have hopefully you don't want to draw into lands, right? Until the end of the game. This card must be like awful to draw later, because this one is just a pile of stats, and only if you draw it like early enough to do that. Even if you have a 20/20, can't that just be blocked by a 1/1 every time? Like, is there like...
No, if it doesn't have trample.
Yeah, so you'd have to spend like extra effort to give it trample as well. I'm gonna say this one is not good as well. I don't think this one's good. Yeah, no, it's not good. I'm calling it. I don't think it's good. I'm not buying it.
And you're correct, yes.
Nice, okay.
People were very excited when that card came out because you had the fetch lands. Early in Magic, a scaling creature about +1/+1 each turn was okay. Like, we're talking about 2000. Like, year 2000.
And this is not when this came out?
This is like 2005, I would say. But as you said, drawing later is pretty bad. And also, as Magic power creeped a little bit stronger, creatures got better. You just couldn't find the reason to play it because it wasn't big enough. Okay. Well done. Nice. 3 for 3. Wow. Next turn.
Dolmen Gate, 2 mana artifact. I don't know what artifact means.
This is pretty much a effect that's just there. You get the bonus of having it.
Okay, so I pay for it once and then it stays there and I have the bonus.
I think you have something with like some conditions that apply to the board.
We have like field spells that stay there until someone gets rid of them? Or
this is just one of those, but you can have multiples.
Okay. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. Combat damage is when I attack with a creature and it gets blocked. They just don't die, or like they don't take any damage from that.
Yeah, so since you have to be attacking, basically every creature blocking doesn't deal no damage.
Basically, it removes the downsides of just trying to attack, even if your opponent has like bigger creatures.
You can always attack, nothing happens.
Okay. This one is, I feel like, the toughest one so far because it's not a creature. Like, I can't look at like stats and effects because that's something I feel like is. So how does combat work? If I attack with the creature and it doesn't die, is there any downside to me just swinging over and over?
No. So you have a creature. If I want to attack, I tap the creature. Only blocking creatures need to be untapped. So if I attack, I can't normally block.
So we found the downside.
Well, if you attack, you can.
Which is like if I attack, I can't block on the next turn. Right?
That is always true for attacking.
Okay. I still feel like for 2 mana, until my opponent spends a card to remove this, which I don't know if there's easy ways to remove artifacts.
If you want to, there. Artifacts aren't that important from the beginning, but a lot of people's sideboards have ways to get rid of artifacts if they need to.
So if I'm going wider than my opponent and I have like smaller creatures than they do, I can still swing with all of them. And if they block, then I don't lose that one creature that was blocked. I'm gonna say this feels good because it's just 2 mana. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's good.
So you say it's
but I'm not 100% confident on this one. But I'm gonna say it's good.
Unfortunately, you're wrong.
Okay.
People also were very excited when that card came out, and they went to the thought process of I'm attacking all the time, right? And it's so easy and so relaxing if all your creatures can just turn sideways and attack. You don't have to bother about blocking. If you have more creatures, you always deal damage. If you would trade, well, you don't trade, so blocking for your opponent is very hard. But you don't want to play that in turn 2, like in the early game, because then you're not then you're not playing creatures, so you're not putting up the pressure, and then your opponent is going to attack you and it does nothing on blocking. But you also, if you play it later, you're not guaranteeing that you're actually getting through, because your opponent might have a removal spell, which one doesn't prevent. People tried it a lot and realized, yeah, the deck is much better without.
No, well, we lost the streak.
And got forgotten. But this one is a hard one.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Last one.
That was tough. Sheoldred? Sheoldred, the Apocalypse. 4 mana, black, legendary creature.
Legendary means you can only have her on the battlefield.
Oh, I can't play 2 Sheoldreds.
Yeah, if you play this card twice, you have to choose one and keep it, and the rest.
Oh, okay. Death Touch sounds like whenever she battles with any other creature, that creature dies. It doesn't like auto win the game if it connects.
That would be very good.
Okay.
No,
that'd be very good then.
If that card deals damage to a creature, that creature dies.
Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. Wait, that's just better than Siege Rhino, isn't it?
Depends on what are you comparing.
I'm comparing Sheoldred to Siege Rhino.
No, I mean like, yeah.
Which like, okay, immediately it doesn't give me 3 life. Because I play it and I've already drawn for turn. Okay, maybe that's the problem, keeping her on the board. Because this thing, you get immediate value. This thing needs to stick around for a while. I already know I'm going to say this is a good card. I'm just trying to maybe talk myself out of it just in case it's not a good card actually. But I feel like this is way too close to this card, but it has more potential in the long run. Like if my opponent can't remove this one, they're just gonna keep burning and I'm gonna keep gaining life. Like this feels like
That's true.
It feels like a very good control tool where I'm like, if I can ever stick this one onto the board, then I just win against like this feels like when I remember aggro decks in other games. Like if my opponent plays this on 4, I feel like I'm gonna leave the table. Because like it's got 5 health, so it blocks your stuff and probably survives if you're playing small creatures. And then it also is a win condition on its own. Nah, this one's very good. I feel like this one's very good. If this one was good, this one's also good.
So you said when you play that card and that card sticks, I'm leaving the table. This is correct. This is exactly what happens, by the way. If you, there are people literally like on screen just like rage quitting because of this. No, yes, you're absolutely right. It was a test of comparison, what you've learned, and obviously, if you look at exactly Siege Rhino and Sheoldred, she looks much better. You do get the immediate value, but as you said, also color can be a downside because you have to have all the different
Oh
spellers.
yeah,
So
because it's
having
mono black.
one color is insane.
Yeah.
There are very strong decks that rely on drawing a lot of cards. If you play her and she doesn't
right.
get
You can
answered,
even like it's not even your normal draw. You can just like play draw cards in your control deck and
you
just,
can
like,
draw to get more life. If your opponent draws cards, they lose to life. If they, like, for whatever reason, draw 2 cards, Pot of Greed, you know, then they just lose 4.
Yeah.
Great stuff. 4 and 1. That is impressive. Some of
Almost.
the analysis is creepingly good, you know. If you liked the cards, if you liked what Josh has done with his thinking about how to apply Yu-Gi-Oh! Context to Magic. If you like the channel, I mean, obviously, like, subscribe, write anything in the comment. The algorithm helps. Thank you, Josh, for doing this.
No problem. I want to do more. It's fun.
Very, very good, outstanding, pretty good. Yes, thank you for watching. Bye.